Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us in this video series called the Learning and Development Preparing Enterprises for Tomorrow. And today we are privileged to have with us Ms. Karmishta Mitra, Group CLO, Axis Bank. Thanks, Karmishta, for joining us. Along with Karmishta, we have Arushi Agarwal, Head Coursera for Business India. Thank you, Arushi, for being here today. And
thank you for having us.
Let's build this very interesting conversation that we are about to have. BFSI industry is at the biggest cusp of change today, following a lot of technological interventions that have happened globally and India, right? And especially when we see BFSI being, disrupted by this breed of fintechs that we see today, right? And BFSI is also the anchor industry for, the whole economy. It's like the highway that runs the whole country, right? Having said this, the biggest imperative that BFSI industry is having today is to skill their talents, upskill their resources that they are, so that they're equipped for the next wave of change that BFSI is set for, right? And that's what we are here to discuss, right? Karmishta, I begin with you, where I would like to understand, from your perspective, and you are at the helm of such a huge bank, right, where you are leading almost 93,000 employees today, right? What's the, how are you curating leadership reskilling initiatives for your senior leadership, as well as making it pervasive in the whole organization, and in the backdrop of such a dynamically evolving workplace and workforce environment? Over to you, Karmishta.
Yeah. No, so thank you very much. So, so what we realized and we grounded ourselves on when it comes to leadership is to define which we call a leadership ecosystem framework. Wanted to keep it really simple because personally I was bored with this competency frameworks, multiple stages, different things for different people. So that just did not build a common language, right? So first thing we did, and at the height of COVID, let's define a very simple leadership ecosystem framework comprising of actually 3 capabilities: 1 mindset and 1 synergy behavior, and with some sub behaviors defined. And we said it's going to be common for everyone in the organization, whom we call leaders. And they were essentially, about 10,000 odd people for us out of 93,000. It was our way of making it inclusive, but we also say the top leaders need to be great at all 5. The one which is leadership top leader -1, -2, maybe great at 4 out of 5. And the others, we give you the next 2 years to be great at 3 out of 5. But after 2 to 3 years, we all will start gunning towards becoming good at 5 out of 5. Once that was done, it just allowed us to really have conversations with our leaders. We started with the top. We actually conversed with the MD, the Mancom, and the top 60 leaders and said, if this is the construct that we have defined for the bank, what is it that you want to focus on and develop yourself on? Pay a lot of premium in conversation. So internally, there was a conversation around with the senior management. What do they need to get better at? Combining these 3, we just could very sharply curate what is it that each one of them wanted to focus on. But after that, what we did is we really looked at, if we are shaping the future together, then we define the next 2 to 3 years what we wish to focus on. So then we would partner with an INSEAD for the top leaders and to say, how do you really encounter? And we would do some crazy discussions saying, imagine you are not there anymore. How are you going to rebuild yourself back? So we looked for academia, we looked for partners who pushed our thinking. Then when it came to the leaders who shape the strategy and drive the execution, for them, we realized they are the sandwich ones, right? So it's very important for us, for them to understand who they are and also give them enough space to first feel free to cater to areas they want to cater to. So we actually partnered with one of the international organizations who gave them a lot of opportunities to get coached. And even Coursera course is included as a part of that development process. And now that they've done that, now we're going to put them to really, what do we call it, crucible exam situations.
Very well said, Karmishna, and I think very well thought through, because I think the first place where companies fail is that they don't take the buy-in of the management, and here the whole process where it's beginning with the management and having them, participate in the whole architecture, I think is one way of ensuring that there is success and the outcomes that you wish to drive. And secondly, you are also kind of ensuring that the implementers are as vested, because the next 10,000 leaders or someone that you mentioned, they have to be the one who will roll it out, right? Yeah. At this juncture, Arushi, I come to you, right? From where you see the whole industry and the whole learning and development, space, right? Being at Coursera, can you throw some light on one of the most effective leadership frameworks that you have seen, pan out very successfully, and any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if I were to think about this more holistically, about 5 years back, companies would invest in learning as a benefit. They would give it to an employee because it was a part of what was being provided as a benefit. From there, about 2 years back, we saw that this evolved into course libraries, where you have a library of content available, which the employee may choose to peruse as they would seem fit. Today, what we are seeing is most companies are adopting a skills-first approach, where within anything that they would like to achieve, they first identify the skill, and this becomes very associated with the business outcomes that are needed. To that end, what we have done is we have created what we now call the Leadership Academy. And we've had the chance to be working with Axis over many years and have actually seen many of these phases. What the Leadership Academy has is simply the Korn Ferry framework is used, and the lead self, lead teams of teams, and lead the enterprise. So the simple accepted framework in the market is what we use. And we've also had a chance to roll out what is called the SVP program at Axis Bank for the senior leadership. So that's what we've seen. To be able to create a framework which is accepted for leaders so that it's effective, at the same time to productize it and then be able to deliver for self, for teams of teams, and for the organization.
Thanks, Arushi, for sharing that insight. At this juncture, Karmishna and Arushi, do you then also see that there is a lot more further emphasis on the soft skill part?
Actually, I call it behaviors, right? And they were always, very important, always. And, since the time I would say organizations existed, or you can say country existed, or the world existed, leadership was all about behavior of the leader, right? It is not really so much only about the domain and the function competence that you brought in. Many people brought in that, but someone stood out all because of those leadership behaviors, as we called it. Our world is much more, we operate through multiplicity of actions, of situations, of dynamics. So we all have to really bring out or get better with more and more behaviors. And when hence we looked at our own framework, and when I first talked about it, I didn't know it would resonate so well. But I said, what is important is mindset, capabilities, and synergy behaviors, and then of course look at outcomes from that lens. And everyone seemed to have just loved it, saying, oh wow, this sounds good. And we have realized mindset, for example, plays such an important role. We do work with people. We leverage this MIT framework called Stuck to Flow. And when we work with people on frameworks like Stuck to Flow, what would take you to flow? Because it is important to be in a flow. We cannot be underwhelmed. We cannot be overwhelmed. We have to be in a flow. But we all do keep getting stuck, right? So when you take them through experiences like that, and they get to discover their mindset, bring the whole being into action, right? That is the new world of, I would say, learning agility or behaviors and all of that. There's an interplay of multiple things, and the only way to manage it is behavior. I have realized having the tools and techniques to display certain behaviors, etc., comes in very handy. Be it with strategy also has behaviors, right?
Absolutely.
Frameworks, tools, techniques. Be it interactions of people with people, and be it really even, of course, making things work. Everything has behavior laden, and they're in simultaneity. It is no more linear. So that's
Absolutely.
my take on the whole thing. It makes life very interesting and complex.
But well said, Karmishta. And you also touched upon something called the digitally driven, right? And that is becoming very critical for the BFSI industry, because BFSI industry is also sitting on the maximum data that one can think of, right? One can fathom, right? And now every industry, and specifically BFSI, has become digital first. It's the era of being digital first, digitally driven, and all of that. How do you inculcate this digital first culture in your leadership through your training and skill development?
We proactively had decided that we need to start investing in technology even before COVID had struck us, and we could anticipate some significant changes are coming in. So we had the technology available. See, availability of technology is also very, very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So we had the technology available. Then it's a case of adoption of those technology. I think the top leaders pretty much learned on the job, etc. Then we offered to the line, everyone sort of learned on the job. Yes, there are at times we see reluctance in the front line to sort of adopt, etc. But we saw people who did, they were garnering higher success. So conversations happened. So that's one way. Now the 70 is done. We are now going to be actually creating a blueprint to say, how do we really bring in real learning, skilling on digital? We call it digital fluency. How do we really bring in digital fluency in the bank, and be it with the connecting with our customers, bringing the humaneness and connecting with their people, as well as driving productivity. So what are the various tools available, techniques available? It's becoming a skill. So we are just about creating that blueprint as we are talking. So maybe if we discuss this about a year from now, I think I'll be in a better position to see and understand what works and what could be better. But this is becoming a very, very important tool for us, even from the perspective of business model creations, reimagining our products, reimagining our services. Let's see how we crack the code.
Sure. Arshi, Karmishta mentioned something about reimagining learning, right? Yeah. And when we say reimagining learning, which is also driven by a lot of compliance, right? From a Coursera standpoint, how are you enabling this dilemma of leaders to deliver this at scale, but having it personalized at the same time?
What we very quickly realized is that learning which is theoretical will not help an organization, but learning which is on the job is something that will really help. And to that end, especially for digital, what we have done is we have created what we call as projects. We take a very simple example. Tableau is a digital tool for visualizing data and making decisions. If somebody in the team is told, dear branch manager, please use Tableau to get to outcomes, it's going to be a very Herculean task for them to be able to accomplish this. What we've tried to do is, if you have an hour, come to the platform, search for Tableau. There will be 1/3 of the screen which will have an instructor, and 2/3 of the screen which will just open up Tableau with the data, and you learn and you take it from there. So in terms of getting it to be personalized and for people to be motivated, the first thing that we have done is to make it something which will help them on the job, for it to be very practical, hands-on, versus it to only be theoretical, which may not be necessary for them in their day-to-day work. That's the first. The second, which is quite exciting and in fact announced only 10 days back, is we'll be introducing a feature that we're calling Coursera Coach, which is powered by AI and the generative AI tools. And what that will do is, in natural language, you post a question to your personalized Coursera coach, and from everything that the platform has, an answer will be thrown up, and it cannot get more personalized than that.
Very interesting, and I look forward to, exploring one of those courses from Coursera. Thank you, ladies, for joining us today and having this insightful conversation. We look forward to more such conversations going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And it was really a wonderful discussion, and thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Honor is
Thanks.
mine.